If I told you right now that I have a clear plan to become a millionaire by the age of 32, some people would roll their eyes, some would think I'm bluffing, and others would secretly wonder how the hell I'm going to pull it off when most people can't even save $500 without dipping into it. And that's fair. Becoming a millionaire sounds like one of those Instagram buzzwords or YouTube clickbait titles where people pose next to rented Lamborghinis and pretend they crack some code. But for me, this isn't about showing off, flexing, or living in some fake highlight reel. It's about building wealth strategically, step by step, and doing it in a way that actually lasts. It's about rewiring how I think about money, discipline, and opportunities so that when I hit that number, it's not luck, it's the result of intention. And before I get into the exact blueprint, let me ask you something. If you're tired of watching others post their wins while you feel like you're stuck in the same loop, if you're tired of working hard and wondering why the numbers in your account don't reflect the effort you put in, then hit that subscribe button, like this video, and stick with me till the end. I'm going to break down not just what I'm doing to hit 7 figures by 32, but also the mindset shifts, the habits, and the strategies that anyone could apply. You don't want to miss this because one idea here could be the turning point for you. Now, the first thing I realized when I sat down and seriously asked myself, how can I become a millionaire by 32, was that I had to stop thinking of it as some faraway dream. For a long time, I thought millionaire status was reserved for either tech founders, lucky stock traders, or people who inherited money. That kind of thinking kept me in the rat race, because I subconsciously believed it wasn't for me. But the moment I reframed it and said, no, this is math, this is systems, this is behavior, it stopped being a fantasy and became a project, and projects can be broken down into smaller, achievable parts. For example, if you want $1 million by 32 and you're currently 25, that's 7 years, divide $1 million by 7, and you get about $143,000 per year. Divide that by 12 months, and you get about $12,000 a month. Suddenly, what felt like a mountain looks like a staircase, and while $12,000 a month is still a lot, it's no longer some mythical beast, it's a target, and targets can be hit with the right weapons. The second thing I realized is that most people never get there because they're obsessed with only one weapon, their job. Don't get me wrong, a job is important, and for many people it's the foundation, but if all you ever rely on is one income stream, you're capping your potential. When I looked around at people who became millionaires relatively young, none of them depended on just a paycheck. They built layers of income, side hustles, investments, scalable businesses, real estate, digital products, and even content. That's when it clicked for me. If I want to hit 7 figures, I can't play the game like everyone else who's hoping for a promotion once a year. I need multiple engines running at once. And so I started thinking about income the way rich people think about oxygen. You can't have just one source. You need several so that if one fails, you don't suffocate. But let's pause for a second, because this is where most people psych themselves out. They hear multiple income streams and instantly think they need to launch 5 businesses overnight, start day trading, buy a duplex, and also create a TikTok empire. That's not the move. The move is stacking slowly but consistently. For me, I knew the first layer had to be my skill. Skills are the foundation of wealth, period. You can't skip this. So I doubled down on becoming valuable in what I already do, not just to make more at work, but to be able to freelance, consult, and charge higher rates on the side. That's how I built the first boost of extra income, not by inventing something new, but by monetizing what I was already good at. This is a key lesson. You don't need to reinvent yourself to get rich. You need to find ways to cash in on what you already know, and then expand. Once I had that foundation, the next layer was building leverage. Leverage is when your effort multiplies without extra time. For example, freelancing is still trading hours for dollars, but creating digital products, online courses, or scalable services lets you earn even when you're not actively working. That's where I started experimenting with creating content and packaging knowledge. At first, nobody paid attention. My videos barely got views. My digital product sat with 0 sales, and it felt like I was screaming into the void. But this is where consistency comes in. Most people quit after 3 months of no traction, but the reality is that the compound effect kicks in much later. By sticking with it, improving, and learning what actually resonates, I saw a small stream turn into a trickle, and then into something more meaningful. This part is hard because it tests your patience, but if you want to be a millionaire by 32, you need to stop expecting instant results and start respecting the lag between effort and reward. Now, let's talk about money management. Because here's the truth, it doesn't matter if you make $200,000 a year if you spend $210,000. Most people lose not because they don't make enough, but because they leak money everywhere. Lifestyle creep is real, and it's a millionaire killer. I knew if I wanted to reach 7 figures, I had to master control over my expenses, not in a scarcity way, but in a disciplined way. I had to set percentages: 20% saved, 20% invested, 10% reinvested into my own skills or business, and the rest allocated for living. This wasn't easy because temptation is everywhere: new cars, new gadgets, trips, and the social pressure to show you're doing well. But the thing is, real wealth is invisible. The richest people I know don't wear designer every day. They stack assets quietly, while everyone else shows off liabilities loudly. This mental shift, choosing to be rich over looking rich, is what allows your money to grow instead of disappear. Speaking of growth, investing is non-negotiable. If you want to become a millionaire by 32, you can't just save your way there. Saving is safety. Investing is acceleration. I started with simple index funds because they're low maintenance and historically solid. From there, I looked at real estate, not as a luxury, but as a tool. Owning a property that cash flows can become a steady income stream while appreciating in value. Then there's entrepreneurship. This is where the biggest upside lives, but it's also where the most risk exists. That's why I didn't dive into it blindly. I tested small offers, validated ideas, and scaled only when it made sense. The mistake most people make is going all in on an unproven idea and burning out. The smarter move is to build in layers, manage risk, and always keep your main source stable until your side ventures can carry themselves. And let's not forget the role of networking. Wealth doesn't grow in isolation. Every new level of income one unlocked was tied to someone I met, someone I collaborated with, or someone who opened a door. But here's the catch: you don't network by begging for opportunities. You network by being valuable, by giving first, by sharing ideas, by being the person people want to include in the room. I treated relationships as investments, not transactions. Some conversations led nowhere immediately, but months later, they turned into collaborations or introductions that shifted my trajectory. You can't measure this on a spreadsheet, but it's one of the biggest multipliers in the journey to 7 figures. Another important piece is mindset. Honestly, the battle is won or lost in your head before it ever shows up in your bank account. If you believe it's impossible, you won't act. If you believe you're not capable, you won't try. I had to train myself to think differently about money, not as something scarce, but as something abundant that flows to value. I had to stop saying things like, "I can't afford that," and instead ask, "How can I afford that?" That shift from limitation to possibility changes how you show up. It makes you more resourceful, more creative, and more open to opportunities. Combine that with discipline and patience, and suddenly the gap between you and a millionaire lifestyle doesn't look so wide anymore. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There will be setbacks. I've had months where nothing worked. Investments dipped, clients disappeared, and motivation tanked. In those moments, it's easy to spiral, but I reminded myself that setbacks aren't stop signs, they're speed bumps. Every millionaire I've studied failed more times than they succeeded, but their persistence is what carried them. So I built resilience into my plan. I expect losses, I expect mistakes, and I budget for them emotionally and financially. This way, when they happen, I don't get derailed. I adjust, learn, and keep moving. That's another reason why most people never reach 7 figures. They quit at the first sign of difficulty. If you can hold on longer than most, you'll eventually break through where others gave up. By layering all these strategies, maximizing skills, building multiple income streams, managing money wisely, investing smartly, networking intentionally, and sharpening mindset, I've created a roadmap that makes $1 million by 32 not just possible, but inevitable if I stay the course. And the crazy part is, this isn't just my plan. Anyone can apply these principles. It's not about luck, or being born into wealth, or having insider connections. It's about consistent action, delayed gratification, and building systems that compound over time. That's how I'll hit it. And when I do, it won't be a surprise. It'll be the predictable outcome of the choices I made every single day leading up to it.